Well, these two have been desensitizing themselves to this tarp for the last 2 days. Let's see if we can take it a step further and lead them over it.
All right, welcome back to Becky Amio Horse Training, and this is Sea Booger Harlan. And he's been playing with this tarp out here for the last couple of days, so let's see if we can actually get him to lead him over it ourselves. And I haven't done a whole lot of leading with this colt besides walking him from his corral to the round pen to let him out here to play. So let's play around and see what we get, and you guys can watch the mistakes I make and see how reasonable and compliant this guy wants to be. He really isn't too scared of it. He's been playing with it, like I said, for the last couple of days. And, you know, every year I leave this tarp right outside my round pen, and every year these babies manage to pull it into the round pen and tear it up a little bit more. So obviously they're not that afraid of it. Come on, bud. You know, this guy, this is the type of disposition that'll really spoil you. And, you know, I'm kind of cheating here a little bit. I have to admit, I'm cheating just a little bit with this guy. I've worked with an awful lot that are exactly like him. He's by Harlan's Top Gun, and I've rode Harlan's Top Gun, and all of his colts have been pretty much the same, and they're super reasonable and compliant, and that's kind of why I've been picking them out, because they're easy to get along with, and they make my job a whole lot easier. And they'll spoil you in a hurry, though. So this guy is going to make it a little bit, a little bit too easy. Let's see, what else can we do with you? Let's see if we can work on picking up your feet. I've picked up his feet a little bit. I have trimmed his front feet. Oh, you got your hind foot stuck. You okay? And see, look, that's the kind of reaction that I want in my horses right there. You know, there's a little bit of grab his butt moment, and then he went, oh, I'm okay. Now, the thing that I tell colts, I actually tell them this when I'm up on their back. I tell them, it's okay if you want to spook, if you want to be scared, because I get scared too, but it's not okay for them to act out when they're scared. Like, it's perfectly fine to have that moment, but it's what they do after that moment that tells me how reasonable they're going to be. Because what you'll see some horses do after he had that moment of catching his foot in the tarp, he could be running laps in this pen right now, completely worked up, just raging anxiety mess. He could have kicked out. He could have jumped in the air. He could have spun around. You know, there were a lot of things, and I think we've all seen that type of horse at some point, that something gets them, and then they have this huge overreaction, kind of like the stud horse that I was working on last week. You know, he doesn't just get over things real easy. This guy, heck, he just gets over things real easy. Doesn't bother him too much at all.
Well, of course that one's easy. They're all easy when you're working on an easy one. Why don't you get one that's a little bit harder, that resists a little bit more? Hey, honey, can you get me a little more of this Boone's Farm?
But one thing that I think you might have just seen there when we first started was he wanted to nibble on me a little bit. And I'll get after them for it, but I always come back and pet on them some more. As much as you can possibly pet on these guys, the better. The more you can rub their face, the better. This will come back and in dividends as they get older, when you go to bridling them and when you approach them, everything you do, because you don't want them to be afraid of you when you confront them, approach them, reach up and pet them. You can always tell a horse that's been thumped on by the way they move their head back and forth either direction when you come up with a hand to pet on them. So let's see how he's picking up his feet. And now with young colts, this guy's a coming yearling stud colt. He has not been castrated yet. He's a little bit ornerier, okay? So with a colt like this, do not ever turn your back on them, so to speak. Always be prepared for that mouth, okay? So what I'll do when I'm starting to do this is I'll keep my elbow kind of back this way, because if he wants to reach around, he could grab me in the fatty part of my back, you know, right in my kidneys, or he could grab me on the back of my arm, and that neither of those places feel really good. So I kind of keep my elbow like this and start to run my hand down his leg. Be aware of those hind feet. If you have a colt that it is handy with their hind feet, if you will, you know, be aware that he could come forward with those hind feet and get you in the face as you're going down and working on this, okay? So like I said, I've worked on this colt a little bit already, so he's not going to be a very good representation of what to do when they act out, and I apologize. We'll grab the other one here in a second. The other one is going to be a better example of what to do when they start to act out. You know, it's hard to learn when they want to do everything pretty good for you all the time. So here, same thing. I'm going to keep my elbow right here to protect my backside in case he decides he thinks he wants to get mouthy with me. Okay. I'm going to run my hand down his leg. Pick up his foot. Set it back down. Lots of petting. If you have a colt that's not comfortable with that, always go back up to the place that they are comfortable, okay? All right. We're going to turn this guy loose. He's not showing us a whole lot today. We're going to get to the other little red roan colt and do some stuff with him, and he might challenge us a little bit more, okay? All right. So here is the red roan colt that we've used in the last couple of videos, and he's been out here playing with this tarp as well. And he's a little bit hotter-headed. You know, he's red roan. He came with a warning label here. So let's see if he will walk across or even take a step on this tarp for us, since he's been playing on it. And you'll see his reaction compared to the other colt. Come on, bud. Good boy. That a good boy. Now, I have the other colt tied up right over here. And I'm cheating a little bit here. I'm walking him the direction of his friend. Anything that you can do to help yourself out to make your job easier, do it, okay? You're not cheating. Whatever gets the job done in a situation like this, if he wants to be towards his friend, he's got to walk across the tarp. That's all there is to it. There you go, bud. Now, be careful if they decide to go running across the tarp really fast or whatever you're trying to walk them across. If something spooks, he may just wipe me out and take me out with him. So be aware as he comes across and he commits, he might come across pretty quick and smoke both of us. There you go, bud. So I like to use about a 15, 16-foot lead on this, so I have a little bit of room. It has some feel to it. You know, just let him make the decision. I'm not pulling on. I'm just kind of hanging out here. And there you go. Good boy. Look, that's real reasonable. Good job. You know, and again, use the friend. Use the buddy. You know, use the exit out the gate. I mean, those are little tips and tricks that'll make your life really easy. You know, and something else when you're trying to teach him to walk over things, I've always got some sort of poles or something laying out here. You know, we can practice walking them over these poles, and they play out here with these poles, these ground poles, all the time. So they should know them pretty well. Now, neither of these colts grew up. Well, this one did not grow up outside. His mom is a much older mare. She has to stay up. She has to stay on quite a little feed and in order to raise a nice colt. But the other one, he was raised out up until he was weaned, and then he was brought in and put in a pen. Now, when they're out, they would learn all this stuff already. They would learn how to step over logs and step over rocks and watch out for their feet and watch for holes and cactuses and all sorts of different things. So by having all this stuff out here in the round pen, and they come out here and play, whenever they get turned out, they have to watch their feet as they're playing and going across all this stuff. So we'll just slowly see if he'll walk over it. And you can just move back and forth. See if we got a step there. You know, we don't need perfection right now. We just need him to kind of get the idea that, hey, we're going over something. You know, let him think about it a little bit. You know, he looks over at his friend over there. You know, we might be able to set up a pole towards the direction of his friend and see if he'll walk over it for us, go in the direction of his friend. Come on, bud. And I could give him a good jerk, and maybe I get a step. And somebody who's bigger than me could come in here and give him a really big jerk, and he'd step over it. But when this guy gets 6 months older, a year older, it's not going to work. You know, we have to get this willing, and we have to put a cue with it eventually. So here's a game that he doesn't quite know, but we'll see if we can send him over it. Okay, now I got forward, and I'm going to quit him with that. Got lick and chew. Okay, he didn't go over it, but he didn't know the game either. I just made up a brand new game. You know, and that tells us how reasonable they're going to be as well when we make up a brand new game in the middle of trying to teach them something else and see how likely they are to respond to it in a positive way. Hey! Hey, bud. Not a good boy. Forward. And see how I quit just as soon as I got that one forward step? That's all you need, okay? I didn't even have to hit him with my rope. I just swung it a little bit. And that's how quick that timing needs to be with them. If you kept swinging it, he wouldn't understand what that meant, and you'd break your go button. You know, it'd be like, you know, hitting the gas pedal and the brake at the same time. Good boy. Not a good boy. Okay, this will eventually lead up to walking him over a bridge, loading him in a horse trailer, walking through a gate that say, you know, you're heading out to the pasture, they don't want to go through a certain gate. I've had this happen just last summer. I had a mare that would not walk through this one gate for me, and I had to get off of her, and I had to send her through the gate. So I had to send her like this. Atta good boy. So see how I quit just as soon as he made an attempt. With this guy, I really have to recognize the try, and I have to recognize the timing and feel with him. This is why timing is so important, and I emphasize that so much. And again, I've been really hesitant to show groundwork because folks don't understand timing. So I thought I'd start really emphasizing and teaching the timing when I'm working with one. So let's try it again here. Come on, bud. You know, there's so many things that you can do with these little guys that doesn't involve getting on their back and riding them. It's just absolutely amazing. And we're only limited by our own imagination, okay? And I am the first one to admit I don't have much of an imagination when it comes to a lot of this stuff, and I figure out a lot of it as I go. Atta good boy. See how there was even less resistance that time? What a good boy. And look at him lick and chew. Good job, young man. Good job. Boy, what a good experience for him. Let's see if we can do it the other direction. Come on, bud. So now that he's walked across it a couple of times, he might just walk across for us. Let's see if we can get it this way. Now, he's paying attention to a couple of dogs that are on the outside of the round pen, and that's totally fine. He needs to be aware that those dogs are there. I want a horse that's aware of his surroundings, okay? I want him to be able to pay attention to me and know that there's stuff going on outside, okay? So that's not a bad thing if he looks off at something else. I want a horse that is capable of going across the pasture with me after a cow-calf pair that, say, is on the other side of the creek, and they're aware that there is rocks, boulders, prairie dog holes, cactus. I want them to be aware that that stuff is there when we're going across the pasture after a cow-calf pair, okay? It's really important to me. That time I tapped him, and he went across. Atta good boy. Look at you. Lick and chew. Good job. Pet on him. Good boy. Let's go to another one. Come on, dude. Okay, we're going to go to this white one here. It's a little bit taller. It's a different color. It's shaped differently. No. It's important that your body placement is in the correct spot. If you are in the wrong place, you will block forward motion just like that. Did you see how? Okay, go back to the video from last week when I had that colt tied to the tie rail and we changed directions and I stood up to him just like this. Okay, they will stop and face up to you like this. Okay, your body position is so important. And they will tell you when you are wrong, okay? You will, don't you? So I'm going to go back towards his butt. I'm going to send him forward again. Now, he cheated me just a little bit, but I didn't exactly set him up either. Okay, I just set him up to go forward. I didn't set him up to go across that pole very well. Look at that. Good little dude. We didn't expect that. That was a bonus, wasn't it? All right, let's set him back up again to go over this white one. Come on, bud. And if his feet get locked in place a little bit, I just go back and forth a little bit, okay? Back and forth to kind of unlock him, and then we get forward motion again. Atta good boy. And if I stay towards his hind end, I keep forward motion right there. Okay? All right. Well, I think we're going to quit on that for today. I think that was a really, really good session with this little guy. Boy, big improvement with him this week, and we got some really cool stuff done. I think that gives you guys a lot to chew on for the next week and maybe try with your own colts. I sure appreciate you watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and share this video with a friend. Leave a comment down below if you guys have a topic that you want me to work on. I'll be happy to try to get to it, weather permitting. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday afternoon and have a great rest of your week. Thank you for watching. Becky, Amio Horse Training. Have a great day.